Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. If you are watching this, you can see we have a guest with us today, along with Mark Ostrander and Grant Turner. We have my good friend and former co-host of Weighing In, Alex Steen, coming to us from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Alex, thanks for jumping on for us with us this morning for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Always enjoy the show. Always good to come back on it.
Yes, sir. You were a great co-host and certainly smarter than I was. So, but you are here today for some validation purposes. So first of all, Grant, can you confirm that Alex was in the same golf group that I was this last weekend?
Yes, absolutely. In front of court of law, that is an affirmative.
I swear on the swoosh.
Yeah.
Nothing sacred. Okay.
Do I need to call my attorney to be on this podcast today?
You may just be called later as a witness. The whole point of this is last year, Alex will vouch, he was pretty good. Alex and his dad are good. The other guy I brought was okay, and I was terrible. We shot 6 under. The worst you can make at that tournament's a par. Alex's dad made a hole in one. My buddy made like an 80-foot eagle putt, and we made 2 birdies the rest of the day and absolutely struggled. So, Alex, what was our score this year? Because you kept the scorecard.
This year we shot 11 under for a 59.
Okay. And 11 birdies, no eagles, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you are a much nicer person than me, but I would like you to say if I played better or worse than last year.
Oh, you played better for sure. And as far as the scoring goes, you were much more effective because the putts you made were putts that we were missing last year. So that was a huge help this year.
All right. The check is in the mail. Okay. So, but I believe I made 4 birdie putts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we still lost to GT's team. GT, your team shot 14 under, correct?
Yep.
But you also have a guy that can hit the ball about 370 yards, correct?
That is 100% accurate.
All right. So we had talked about what the spread should have been. We should have got 2 aside, and that would have made it really, really close. But if you had told me ahead of time we would have only needed 2 aside, I would have. I think I could have negotiated 2 aside, and we would have ended up splitting. Once one of us would have won the front, one of us would have won the back. So, Steenie, I know your time is valuable, and I know you hate doing this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to bring you on and say publicly that you've been a great help for the Hall of Fame duels. You did a great job hosting with me. I really enjoyed it. You're probably the only guy that likes doing rankings more than I do, and I just needed somebody to say publicly that my golf game is not complete garbage. So I appreciate you coming on and doing all of that.
Sounds good. Always good to have on. I'll listen the rest of the way. See you guys later.
See you, man. Bye.
Bye, Alex.
All right. So we can start with that, GT. This is the first time you've actually got a chance to go to the tournament because it always clashed with the World Championship schedule. One of the things that I think you and me talked about offline was that Oklahoma State's going to make a conscious effort to not schedule their tournament during the World Championships, which I think says a lot. Seems like they're planning on having people going to the Worlds.
Yeah, I think there's always like scheduling conflicts no matter what you do. So you just try to like minimize the amount of people that won't be able to be there. But I think also, combining your fall golf outing with, right into like your football homecoming or tailgating type situations, you get more people to be invested into it, I think. So, first time ever being a part of that particular event. And I think you always come away from those, excited for the team that is hosting and like what they have going on and seeing how the kids are reacting and, the fans all supporting their team. So, really, really cool event. Definitely something that is will be on the calendar moving forward.
Clay Hudson and his crew do a great job of running it. That's a full-blown weekend, because they do that, and then they have the tailgate on Saturday, and then you and your brother and Shane and your boy went to the game and you got free football, double overtime.
Extra football. Extra football.
So speaking of football, remind us, Grant, how did the Cyhawk duel or Cyhawk game go?
So I got a chance to watch a little bit more of the second half because we were busy with the double overtime free football Oklahoma State Arkansas game. But nails, what a crazy game in Iowa City, to end it with kind of a back and forth possession, and then a 54-yarder to seal it for the Iowa State Cyclones inside Kinnick.
57.
57. That's pretty wild. So it's usually, I shouldn't say always, it's usually a really tight game no matter where it goes. If you've been watching it for the past, 25 years, it's pretty even. So crazy game. Once again, it is definitely something that is on the calendar for everybody in the state of Iowa to watch. So I got a chance to watch it just a little bit after doing a little bit of work, but once again, crazy game.
Free wings for GT, right, Mark?
Well, he gets lunch. He can have what he wants. If he wants wings, I'm fine with wings.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll be there to witness that. Hopefully it'll be like the when Iowa hosts the Oklahoma State weekend. I'm going to try to come up there for that. So, all right. Well, that was I did see that George Kittle had a bet with Brock Purdy, and he had to do a mini press conference with Purdy's Iowa State football helmet on. So, Mark, you're getting off a lot easier than that.
No, not. I mean, I actually watched the game. I watched first half, and Iowa was up 13-0 at halftime. I think Iowa State had 0. They were 0 for 7 or 0 for 8 in third downs. And Iowa's defense played really well. The problem with Iowa, same thing they've done every year. They were first and goal at the 1 and kicked a field goal. And they were first and goal at the 3 and ended up kicking a field goal. And if you can't punch it in from that short a distance, you're going to have issues. And Iowa State played as good as I've seen them play in the second half. They did everything right. And they played, their quarterback's phenomenal, hit some perfect passes. And this kicker, David, this 57-yarder, he was good from 67. It was halfway up the goalpost and hit the net in the back. And the net's a ways away yet from.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So, I mean, this kid is a redshirt freshman from, I think, Dubuque, Iowa, Grant.
Yeah, he's a state of Iowa kid. I don't know what high school he went to.
Yeah, but I mean, it was so cool to watch him make that kind of, in the expression on his face and the teammates, rushing around him. It was really cool.
Well, he had a good weekend. I lost my fantasy football opener by 1 yard, so that was fun. So Mark won his opening week. But let's get into the world of wrestling here. Main things we want to talk about are U20s and the non-Olympic world trials, which are coming up. So U20s, unbelievable performance on the men's side. 1 first, 4 seconds, 4 thirds, 1/5, win the team title. All 10 guys made the semis. Okay. Half the team from Penn State. Bunch of storylines here. The refereeing, depending on how you look at it, subject to interpretation. So many of these matches are like shot clock matches. So like me and Grant wrestle, and it's one flurry on the edge, and whether it's 2-2 or 2-0 or, step out versus, no, he redirected it. So many of these matches are just bang, bang, super close. But we can get into the specifics if you guys would like, and I would enjoy that. But overall, when you have 9 guys medal and another guy come dang close to it, this is super optimistic for the future of USA Wrestling. And I also think, other people have said this on the air, but like some people were critical of the men's Olympic performance. And we've already given our opinion on why that may or may not be valid. But then if you look at what happened at 17s and 20s, this is who's coming, man. And our team was really young. I think there's only 2 kids on that team that are aged out after this. But there was at least 2 or 3 first-year guys. You got high school guys like Bassett, guys like Ladarian,
TJ Duke, I think, was a first year.
Duke,
Junior.
Blaze. Like 4 kids still in high school. Well, Duke's out of high school now, right? No, he's still got a senior year. So 4 high school kids. Luke's going into college. Mirasola's going into college. Okay, so there's at least 2 more, right? So, like, it's crazy. I mean, Rademacher's in college. Keeter's in college. But just so good at so many levels. So, Mark, did you get to watch any of it? See the
I
results?
did, and I guess the first thing that hit me when I was looking through all the information that was going on, because it's, on it in the middle of the night, because I get up and check the brackets. This is what it reminded me of, David. I think last year, come the first week in March, I think I had called you on the phone, and I said, have you seen that Grandview's got 10 guys in the semis of the national tournament? I go, that's unthinkable. It's absolutely unthinkable that you can put 10 guys in the semis.
GT was mad they didn't have 12. Go ahead.
But that's what it reminded me of. So I'm going U20 Worlds, and the first thing that comes to my mind is Grandview's wrestling team, which what they did was, to me,
your shirt's in the mail, Mark. It's coming.
That was my opinion. No, I thought we wrestled well. I think the matches we lost in the finals were competitive, wrestling against some guys that are wrestling on the senior level and getting big wins. So I thought we represented our country really, really well. And freestyle in the United States for the men's side and the women's side is going in the right direction.
GT, just overall thoughts, and then we'll get into some of the weight classes.
Yeah, the future is very bright for our age group category wrestlers right now. I always come away from the age group category worlds like saying that, and I'm like, hey, this person can make a run and really see what happens. But I think that it's a big thank you to all of the high school coaches and the college coaches that basically prep these kids in order to get to these world tournaments. Because if they're not prepared, they're not having these type of performances, right? So there's a lot of emphasis put on worlds for, once again, because we're USA Wrestling and, we want to be able to do this, but you got to have those grassroots coaches, training partners, getting these kids prepared at a time that wrestling isn't necessarily gung-ho right now, right? It's
a great point.
August and September, right?
Yeah.
So for these guys to get up, make a run, maybe train a little bit more than what they're used to in order to go have this world championship experience, it takes a village, man. So big shout out to the USA Wrestling coaches that were on that trip. I know that they had a heavy group of really good coaches there. And then once again, to the high school training partners and coaches that make this run with those kids. There's got to be a lot of happy people back home for these guys to come home to. So
it's a great point, because we talk about the kids that are in college. So right, I think with Penn State, right? Barr's there, Marisola's there. Luke, I'm sure, is training there now. I mean, school started, so Luke is there. But then you look at the Marcus.
Zach Ryder was there.
Yeah, Zach Ryder. Yeah. Okay, but Marcus Blaze, right? He's training in Perrysburg, Ohio. So shout out Scotty Burnett, Eric Burnett, those guys. Okay, Scotty's one of Mark's guys.
Yep.
Okay, so shout out ICCC. Grant, your point's incredibly well made. These are guys that are pouring their heart and souls into these kids, where a lot of time traditional coaches okay, this is the time I'm kind of catching my breath. This is the time I'm kind of getting ready to gear up for running and lifting, for the preseason, right? There's that window after Fargo where kind of not a lot happens, in traditional stuff. And the other thing that this brings up, and then we'll get into some of the specifics, there's levels, right? when you first start doing freestyle and Greco, probably the best thing I want to win my state tournament, right? Like the qualifier for Fargo. Then you want to go win like Northern Plains or Southern Plains. Then you want to go win Fargo. Now there are guys skipping Fargo because they're on a world team. Okay. Like that's a real thing. Like if you look at Bo and Jax, they're very interesting because they've kind of taken turns winning things, right? Like Jax made the Olympic trials, Bo didn't. Bo made the U20 team, Jax didn't. So you can kind of the other guys wrestling at whatever even is doing the odd is doing the other one. Like Jax goes and wins Fargo. And Jax is going to World Team Trials this weekend. Bo's coming back from Spain. And I only bring those two guys up because A, they're the same age, and B, they're from the same high school. And C, they're friends. So it's like it's a much easier comparison than like D. Lockett and PJ Duke. And the other thing is these kids wrestle everywhere. So it's incredibly optimistic. And so many of these guys are getting help, right? Like they're sending their kids to RTCs for a week. And that's where that RTC rule, that 250-mile radius rule, right? Like Marcus Blaze can go train at Ohio State if he wants to. I mean, I'm sure geographically Perrysburg is within 250 miles of Columbus, those kind of things. So it's really, really interesting. So to kind of go through the results, Luke wins gold. And I'm totally biased towards Luke, okay? Like he's from St. Louis, St. Charles. His dad's a friend of mine. He trained with Cornell Robinson. I got a chance to coach him some. Unbelievably great kid, human being. I think he's going to do great in college. But he's interesting in the sense that, like, he reminds me a little bit of Dake. Like some of these kids are like David Taylor where they're just killing people. And Luke will win by less points. But he'll just win. Kid just wins everything. Like I called the Blair Sem duel last year with Willie Saylor. He wrestled Matty Lopes to overtime, 1-1. Lopes didn't do anything, but he kept himself in the match. Luke finally got a takedown in overtime. Like if you watch that, you go, that's not the Junior Hodge winner, right? If you just watch one match. So he'll have matches like that where they won't be super exciting, where he won't score a lot of points. But he finds ways to win. He's super gritty. He's got a ton of savvy. He's remarkably situationally sound mentally and doesn't panic. And then, like, he'll go wrestle Yuri Volk and score 14 points. So did either one of you guys see any of Luke's matches? Overall thoughts on 57?
I think it's like you said, Dave, he's just real consistent, doesn't put himself in positions that he can't score in. Great defensive, good hand fighter. But yeah, he's going to have a lot of close matches. I think he had 2 1-point wins here at the Worlds.
Yeah.
So does that mean he's not really good? No, it means he's really good at not getting scored on. And he picks his spots where he's going to score, doesn't put himself in a position where he's going to give up points. So yeah, I'd say right now he's one of the favorites to win D1s at 125 this year.
It's interesting you say that because GT and I had a conversation offline where if you kind of go best case Iowa and worst case Penn State, you could actually argue Iowa might beat Penn State at nationals this year. And one of the big swing weights for Penn State is 125, right? Like if Luke won nationals, I don't think anybody who understands wrestling would be really shocked.
Nope.
But if he made round of 12 and didn't place, he's a true freshman. I mean, we saw Max Askren as a number 1 seed go in too. Like these things, Braden Davis was the number 1 seed and went round of 12.
Yep.
So, GT, any thoughts on 57 or Luke before we keep it moving?
No, just excited for him. And then once again, you're going to probably see him on the collegiate scene this year. So,
yeah.
Well, first you're going to see him this weekend.
We are going to see him this weekend?
I believe so. I think he was in the rankings, right?
Well, we'll check. Yeah. I don't know if he's going 61 or not. Yeah, because he'd have to. He'd have to go down Olympic weight. But yeah, it sort of looks like he's starting because Braden Davis is moving up. And I think he beats Gary Steen and the rest of those guys. Okay, Marcus Blaze. I don't want to spend I want to get into our picks for the senior world trials, especially in men's freestyle. Are there any other weights? I'll just say this. I talked to Ethan Kyle. He talked about Ladarian's match and how, he went and tried to score when he didn't have to. But one of the things that we talked about and he pointed out is it's so much easier to coach mistakes of aggression than mistakes of passivity, right? And you guys, GT, you're still coaching. Mark, you coached. I'm still coaching some guys. If a kid goes too hard and messes up, it's so much easier to fix that than go, hey, man, you got to go. Like, if you don't go, you don't create some action, you're going to lose. And there's really no point in watching the tape or the film or the video because you stood around for 45 seconds. You got to go get it. So I thought his was interesting. The kind of the viral thing is PJ Duke's match where, the kid just took unlimited injury time, which he's allowed. The Russian athlete or the neutral country. So GT, we brought you on the show for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons, besides the amazing hair, is your knowledge of international wrestling. Do you feel like there's a solution to unlimited injury time? Do you feel like worldwide they even want there to be a solution, or they're like, well, no, it's fine. Like we want to be able to take lungers when we need to?
I don't know. I mean, it's what we've done in the United States for collegiate style wrestling is that basically you get like an automatic stall call, and then like whatever it is, maybe the other guy gets choice and whatnot. Like there's like other ways to be able to like, I don't know, I don't want to say penalize, but like once again, injuries happen. So you're gonna have to figure that out. And then once again, if you're figuring out how to like, if it's truly like an injury, you're like, well, that's tough, right? But
Yeah.
do you penalize them by putting them in parterre? You just give up a point? Is it a caution? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to be able to do that, but I think that it's been a very good idea to go to like the unlimited blood time, because like sometimes those cuts are just so wild and you never like want to lose a match because maybe they just can't stop it, or like the tape keeps falling off or whatever it is. So I don't necessarily have a great solution. It's a great question. But I think that there's a lot of people that would maybe take advantage of getting like unlimited time. But I think most everybody wants to wrestle. I don't think it's necessarily an epidemical problem, but I'm glad also that we've gone to the like taping of your laces rather than like a technical issue. So yeah, I mean, that's a great conversation. I think it's a great point to bring, but I don't necessarily have a great fix for it.
One of the things you pointed out, though, is there's a lot of tools in the box to fix it, right? Like you can, it can be like, college is basically two stoppages, minute and a half total, choice both times, and that's cut down on a lot of it. Bottom line is injuries do happen. If you're genuinely injured, there still has to be a time of recovery. College has this exception for concussions where it takes as long as it takes. And that's, super disruptive to the flow of a meet, but it also is what it is. Right. So, it's certainly, I think this is a fair sentence. If they came up with something like 3 injuries, total of 3 minutes, cold spray, whatever you want. First one's nothing. Second one's like a caution. Third one's a caution and 1 and choice. I think you'd see less of it, and I think it would benefit the Americans.
Yeah.
People listening at home, we're nodding, so we think we agree. You agree, Mark?
I do. I agree. I mean, I struggle still with freestyle and some of the rules that they've got established that have been there forever. Connor Marisola, 5'5", he's winning by criteria with 16 seconds left. The guy takes wild shots. He's snapping them down, circling right into the middle, and they call him for passivity and give the guy a point with really no time left to lose the match. Yeah. And then you got PJ Duke's match where this guy's laying on the mat for no reason, apparent reason. There's nothing wrong with him, and just trying to get his win so he can finish it out and win. And it's not like he wasn't talented, because he pretty much scored whenever he wanted. He just didn't want to wrestle.
No, he's probably better at skill right now than Duke. He's just not better at cardio, and cardio is a part of the sport.
Yep. So I struggle still with certain, aspects of that. I mean, Lockett, they kind of got into a little, punching match, not closed fist, but slaps. And it got to a point where Lockett just said, screw this. And he just smacked him right across the face. And they stopped it. There were no penalties. There were no warnings. Just don't do that anymore. It's like both guys are sitting there, Jiminy, is this wrestling or is this MMA?
It's so interesting because there's two sides of that argument too, right? Like, hey, penalize him. The other one is boys will be boys. We each got our shots in, right?
Yeah.
And GT, you probably unofficially referee a lot of those squabbles and practices. And sometimes it's good, right? Like if guys aren't fighting once in a while, like it didn't bother me if we had like a small fight like once a week, and I don't know if that's the opinion of David Mirikitani and not USA Wrestling. Okay. But like, it didn't bother me. Like if me and you are getting into it and you're just kicking my tail and start pushing my face in the mat, like get off me. And,
right.
Like, and you should be doing what you're doing and I should not be taking it. That's kind of the point, right? Like you're getting used to being that guy, being the bully and trying to look for cradles and, neck wrenches on the way up. And I need to fight. I need to not take that. I need to not passively accept that. I guess today I'm the bug and not the windshield, so yeah. I mean, overall though, amazing performance. Jaden's first coaching gold as the developmental coach. So congratulations to him. And great that, just the future's super bright. I mean, I think that's an obvious sentence, but, a bunch of these guys can come back. That's, the crazy thing. We'll also see who outgrows some of these weights, right? Because that's the other thing at this age, right? Like some of these guys, some of these guys are pulling a ton of, are not pulling a ton of weight, and some of them are pulling some weight. And some of them aren't, but they just haven't physically matured. And once the muscle hits them, they're going to go up a weight class. So anything else before we head over to the pre-seeds for this weekend?
No, I just think it was a great performance by the United States. They did bring a lot of people over there to support this team, which was really cool. I mean, Bruce Baumgartner, president of USA Wrestling, was there. I mean, right. That was really kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know if his title is president of USA Wrestling, but Bender was there too. I mean, I'm looking at the picture. There's a whole freaking crew. My boy Cornell Robinson was out there coaching Luke, and he was also one of the overall coaches. So, tons of faces in this picture that you'll remember for a long time. So this would be one of those things. If you're running an event, the alumni list here is going to be pretty salty. So good to see. All right. We'll start with the ladies. 4 weights being wrestled this weekend, the non-Olympic weights. It's 55 kilos. Jakara Winchester sitting out. I'm just going to run through like the top 4 or 5 seeds here. Martinez 1, Villascusa 2, Felicity Taylor 3, Alicia Hauk 4, Baker 5. GT, is Martinez, in your opinion, the most likely to come out to hit Winchester, or do we see like a Villascusa or a Taylor or somebody making a run here?
Jakara's been kind of the journeyman at 55 for a while, and then basically that's been a tough cut for her because she wrestled up at 57 for the Olympic trials. I think at 55, Villascusa is a pretty tough girl at that weight class. Felicity is, I think, making a jump up. She was at 53 previously. Alicia Hauk is having a pretty good year as well. So I think Amanda Martinez going to 55 is new. Excuse me. I'm excited to see her compete at 55. She's pretty talented and tall for that weight class. But yeah, I think that's a fairly good group. But I think, I think either Villascusa or Amanda would come out of that to wrestle Jakara for the point spot.
So 13 wrestlers in this as of the time this email was sent. 59, nobody sitting in the finals, 8 names. The names we know here, basically Michaela Beck, Abby Nettie, XMP, Bridget Duty. So it feels like Beck has, they won't wrestle the final until the next day. It'll be the 2 out of 3. GT Beck versus the Nettie XMP winner, unless something crazy happens. Oh, wait, Rana Gross is wrestling. So this is Seth Gross' wife back after marriage and pregnancy and everything else. So she's kind of a dark horse here as a 7, right?
Yeah, I think, the usual suspects, with Beck, Nettie, and XMP, they've had probably the most results on the senior level, specifically in the United States. So I'm excited to see Beck back and being healthy. And then, of course, like Abby Nettie, and XMP is always a wild card. She can bomb girls.
Yeah.
She's super explosive. So I'm excited to see what happens at that weight class.
65 feels like it's Macy Kilty, Jen Page written all over it. Kilty sitting out. Page is the 1 seed. Drury, Luciano, Cosme, Di Cugino, Hattendorf, etc. But it'd be a pretty significant surprise if Page doesn't come out of the bracket to Kilty. Is that a fair sentence, Grant?
Macy and Jen have had probably the most success on the senior level, but I think there's a lot of those college girls that are in that mix. Basically right at the cusp of trying to either make, and once again, those weight classes are super tight together. So like a lot of girls that have been at 62 or at 68, they're coming together at 65 for this tournament. So, Alara Boyd had been up at 68 for a really long time. So she's dropping down to 65. I think like Skylar had been at 62, now going to go up to 65. So I think with these non-Olympic weight classes, you're seeing a lot of like blended weights, especially when when these weight classes are that close together.
It's almost exactly like what we see at the Olympic trials, where there's just this compression, right? Because like people want to make teams, and you make a team, then you can medal, and Mark always teases me because I'm already looking at like 25, like how this plays out for the Olympic trials in 28. But then if you medal, you're in the you're in the semis if you medal at a non-Olympic weight. It just sets you up so much easier to make teams eventually at the Olympic weight. 72 kilos, only 6 entries here so far as of this email. McCoyed, Welker, Skylar Grody are kind of the 3 big names there. Okay, 55 kgs, Greco, Brady Coons, Cam Russell, Billy Sullivan, Kenneth Crosby, Zeke Witt, who's a kid that's wrestled in my event, going up to North Dakota State. Fabian Gutierrez is another name people might recognize from college wrestling. He's the 10 seed. So the 3 big names are Kuntz, Russell, Sullivan. 63, Ildar Havisov, Max Black, Dylan Gregerson, Philip Moomey, Corbin Nurshi, Rhett Peak, who just won Fargo, has been specialized in a Greco. There's your top 6 there. 72, Benji Peak, Rayvon Perkins, Hunter Lewis, a name that really surprised me here. Peyton Robb is going Greco. So, we worked with Benji, and I know Benji's a Nike guy, GT. Couldn't be a nicer kid. Like, so his energy, super fun guy to hang out with. This is an interesting weight with him in here with Rayvon, and then a possible match with Peyton Robb. It's kind of wild to imagine those guys wrestling each other, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that's kind of a weird weight. Just seems like there's Rayvon's been around since like the 16 Olympics, and like kind of just battling injuries, comes back, wrestles a little bit, battles injuries, comes back. And then like I've never watched Peyton Robb wrestle Greco before.
Right.
But I'm just also a layman, so I don't know his credentialings going back to like either like U20s or even U23s. I just hadn't paid attention. So It's an interesting one for the casual fan to say, like, I've watched him wrestle on the Big Ten Network, and now I'm watching him wrestle in the Greco-Roman style of wrestling. So excited to see it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last weight here, 82. Kicking out Jesse Porter, Malalashvili, Tyler Ishins, Ryan Epps, Tyler Cunningham. So a lot of entries at this weight, 18 total. So, all right. Probably the area that we know the best, men's freestyle. So 61 kgs, Vito Rujau, defending world champion. 57 was too big of a cut for the Olympic trials. He sits to the finals. Let's walk through the seeds here. In order: 1 Garrett, 2 Fix, 3 DeSanto, 4 Gross, 5 Blaze, 6 Forrest, 7 Bailey, 8 Cronin, 9 Turner, 10 Tortorice, 11 Provo, 12 Berwick. So the way this shakes out, the top half of the bracket would be Garrett against the Cronin Devin Turner winner, and the would wrestle the winner of Seth Gross Marcus Blaze, assuming Blaze got by Kyle Berwick. So top half of the bracket, Mark, I guess just you have Garrett beating the winner of Cronin Turner.
I do. And then I have Blaze making the semis, losing to
Blaze beating Gross.
Yep.
And then Blaze Garrett, who you got?
Garrett. Just too experienced.
Okay. Bottom GT, anything different there?
No.
Okay. Bottom half, Dayton is the 2. Nasser Bailey's the 7. Tortorice is the 10. So Dayton's going to wrestle the winner of Bailey Tortorice. DeSanto's the 3. He wrestles the winner of 6'11", which is Forrest Provo. And then, so if the seed's held, well, first of all, this is fascinating to me. The quarterfinals would be Dayton, Bailey, DeSanto, Jax, Forrest. GT, am I crazy that I would pick Jax Forrest to beat DeSanto in freestyle?
I mean, I don't think that you're crazy, but I definitely think AD wins that match.
You do?
Yes. I think Austin is very good at freestyle, and he's getting better every year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Austin is coming down from 65 kg, which, you know, he had some very good wins at 65. I think 61 is a more natural weight for AD.
Yeah.
And I think that Jax is, you know, I think he's more of like 57 kilo guy. Just in my opinion. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't go and have a great run at 61. But I just think AD is pretty dang good, but Jax is a really good freestyler. So
it's interesting because DeSanto wants you to underhook him, right? And Jax is heavy on the snaps and the over ties and the slide bys. I'm waving my hands around here for the people watching this like it matters. But the way their styles clash, Jax doesn't have to do a lot that's unnatural to get to his offense and stay out of DeSanto's favorite position. So that would be the argument if I'm picking him on how that works. But you're right. I mean, your point's well made. Like, one guy's coming down and one guy's coming up. I don't think Forrest is going to make 57 kilos much longer. His dad's like 6'4", you know, and Jax is tall and skinny. I mean, as soon as the weightlifting starts sticking, he's going to start jumping weights in the best possible way. So, Mark, bottom half. I think,
if I'm not mistaken, I think Jax and AD have worked out together when Jax was here for an event, watching somebody wrestle, because they said they went over to the Hawkeye Wrestling Club and trained a little bit, or one of the high schools, maybe it was in Iowa City, because Jax wanted to get a workout in. And so he's got a feel for Austin, which is a big plus, because if you have never wrestled Austin DeSanto, it's like, you know, it's like you're driving a car, David, and there's a fly and you just can't get rid of it. It's just all over the place. That's Austin DeSanto. He just doesn't quit. He's there all the time in your face. But I think he's just too strong right now for Jax. I think Jax is going to be, you know, phenomenal college wrestler. He's a great high school wrestler, but I think he's going to grow out of that weight and move up. And get a little bit better. But yeah, I see Dayton wrestling Austin, and I think Dayton beats Austin, and I think he'll end up being in the finals against Vito, because I think he beats Garrett.
GT's picking Dayton to win 61. Like, he can tell me if I'm wrong, but GT been ride or die with Dayton since like 2017, so that ain't changing. And he's won a lot more money than he's lost making those picks. So, like, scared money don't make money, and that's also smart money. So, I think it's some of these matchups to me are fascinating because, like, if Jax wins, Dayton's his hero. I mean, he's basically said that. So that would be a wild semi, I'm also interested to watch Dayton wrestle Nasser Bailey. I think he's too crafty for him. But, Bailey's interesting because he's long and he's fast, and those are the guys that have given Dayton trouble. And I also think it's interesting if we'll see Dayton 2.0 now working out with Gilman, working out with RBY. Got a chance to talk to RBY for a few minutes down there, how that's working out. If sometimes when you train with different guys, it helps you open up more. Sometimes it shuts you down. It felt like Dayton was really shut down at the end of his college career for how good he is. Like, he just wasn't taking as much risk as he did early on. And he's really good when he takes risk. I think if they could just get him back to taking risk, he'd probably get 20% better without learning any new moves or tactics or anything. So GT's got Dayton over Vito in the finals. He'll tell me if I'm wrong. Mark, who you got? Vito?
I got Vito winning it.
All right. I'm going to go with GT. I'll take Dayton. Okay. All right. 70 kilos. I will just tell you this because the draws are going to be screwed up. Caleb Larkin is not wrestling this weekend, so it's going to mess up these matchups, but really only if we think somebody from 13 on down can make it. Pantaleo 1, JG 2, JO 3, Duke 4, JQ's 5, Henderson 6, Gandonian 7, Panero 8, Yaya 9, Lawan 10, Bertlin 11. Other guys in the bracket: Ian Parker, Cardenas, Buzakis, Sheets, Abbas, Jack, Arrington, Dane Morton, Isaiah Delgado. I don't feel like anybody from Ian Parker on down is going to make a run anywhere past the quarter. So you guys can jump in if you want to correct me, but if the seeds hold, it's Pantaleo, Panero in a quarter, Duke, JQ in a quarter. That's the top half. Mark, who we got?
I got JQ winning that in the quarter and reaching who's my number 1 seed again? Pantaleo?
Yeah, Pantaleo against Panero.
I'm going to take Panero.
Yeah, Panero beating Pantaleo, JQ's beating Duke, and Panero or JQ's.
I'm going to take JQ's. He looked really good last time I watched him wrestle freestyle. He beat some really good guys. I don't know where it was at, but
it's the Olympic trials.
He was impressive.
It was the Olympic trials.
Oh, there it is. All right. But he was
fairly relevant wrestling meet.
Yeah, but he was impressive. So
yeah,
he came out of nowhere because he never did that in college. So I was trying to figure out where he learned how to wrestle like that, and he was impressive. So he's come a long ways.
He's opened up a lot since college. Yeah, for sure. Okay, bottom. So GT, thoughts on the top? Pantaleo, Panero, who you got?
I think I'll take Pantaleo. He's been ranked as high as I think number 1 in the world at 70 kilos. So
yeah,
I'll take Pantaleo over Panero. Just from the standpoint of just think he gets him. Panero's extremely explosive and a really good freestyler as well.
Yeah.
And I think also from the PJ Duke and Jarrett Jacuse also has an exceedingly tough chest wrap, and he is freakishly strong. And yes, once again, to your point, Mark, watching him at Olympic trials kind of be someone that if you were watching the NCAA wrestling tournaments or like the seasons, you're not necessarily watching Jarrett Jacuse on a lot of the primetime television, but like he's been relevant for a long time, just never had like a big signature win, some may say, until like basically now on the freestyle scene, he's done very well. So I think JQ's versus Pantaleo. I think Pantaleo wins that match. I think so. Pantaleo makes it into the finals.
All right. I'm going to take Pantaleo to make it. I think I had put Pinheiro over Yaya. I think that's an interesting 8-9 match, round of 16. I think Duke is just trying to do a lot, coming straight from Worlds, time zones, all that other stuff, making weight again, coming to probably a harder tournament than the U20s. Because I think if you're not sure, I think Alec Pantaleo would go down there and win the U20s. Let's just put it that way. So, okay, top or bottom half of the bracket. James Green 2, Bryce Andonian 7. Get your popcorn ready. Jordan Oliver 3, Evan Henderson 6. So GT, I'll ask you first here, JG or Andonian, and what's the over-under on the points on that match?
Good heavens. Well, that's an interesting matchup from the standpoint that they used to train together.
Yes, SERTC, right?
Yeah, so I think that Andonian is kind of like a, fly by the seat of his pants wrestler, and I think James is a lot more tactical when it comes to his freestyle wrestling, very much hold position, underhook, push out. But the one thing about James Green when it comes to freestyle wrestling is that like he is one leg of lace or low double away from teching anybody in the entire world. He has one of the best ever shot to lace combinations I've seen. He's just a monster. So I never challenge. It's one of those things you never count out James Green, especially when he's at 70. He's a completely different wrestler than he is at 65 kg.
Yes, he's just not built for 143 pounds, man. It's just too far for him to go. Okay, Jordan Oliver, who has been training for Bellator full time. Evan Henderson, who you got Jo there or Henderson, GT?
I mean, I like Jo at that weight. I mean, I think Evan is. I mean, he's completely underrated in the United States domestic. Like he's got some really, really good skills. And if you guys remember back to, I think it was maybe like a Final X where it was him versus Yanni, the year that Yanni, I think, won the world silver medal. It took a couple of wild scrambles for Yanni to beat Evan. And I think it was like a last second thing in the third match in order to solidify his spot for the world team. But I like Jo, maybe a little bit more rested, maybe not on the grind as much, maybe just focusing a little bit like on singular events. So I like Jo at that. But then that becomes like a battle of pure veterans or kind of some unknowns if we have a 6-7 semi rather than a 3-2 semi.
Yep. So who do you have coming out of the bottom side of the bracket? JG?
Yeah, I'm taking James at that weight because I just feel like James at 70 is a completely different monster that I think goes unnoticed. Like, I don't think that James has really lost all that much domestically at 70 kilos.
Correct. That was his weight. All right, Marco, same questions. JG or Andonian?
I'm going to go James Green, but I'm leery just because he's coaching also, so he's got other responsibilities. He's not just training full-time, thinking about himself. He's thinking about the program, trying to get that where Manning wants it to be, obviously. And on the top half, I mean, you're talking two guys that pretty much this will probably be the last time you'll see either of them wrestling. They've been around a long time. But I think JO's just a little bit better, but I'll take James Green to make the finals in the bottom half.
I don't have a lot to disagree with here. I love watching Bryce Andonian wrestle. I loved interviewing him at NCAAs, but I can't root for him, especially over a guy like James Green, who's also been really good to me when I've interviewed him and stuff like that. Evan Henderson's another guy that awesome to talk to. Oliver's actually friends with my folks, so I think Green comes out of here. If Andonian came out, it would not shock me. Like, because he's like the youngest guy here of the four. And like, I don't know. I'll pick JG. I'll pick Pantaleo to win it. Do you guys have Pantaleo or Green winning it?
I don't even have Pantaleo. I don't even have Pantaleo making the finals.
Okay, you got Jake Hughes making the. Okay, who you got winning it?
I got Jake Hughes winning it.
Okay.
I'm taking James Green.
Okay, so this is fun. We got 3 different guys here. Okay. All right, 79, not a lot of household names in this one. Marsteller, Burrows, Ringer, O'Toole, Carr, Wick, Hunter Garvin, Joey LaValle. That's your top 8. Bianchi, Kennedy Monday. So we'll talk Kennedy Monday because I think he can beat Hunter Garvin. And then I don't know below that. All right. I think, Mark, your turn first here.
I go first every time. That's okay.
Grant, your turn. Top half, Marsteller, LaValle. Who you got?
I'm taking Marsteller.
Okay, Keegan, David Carr.
Wild match. Wild. Like, if anybody thinks that they know how that's going to turn out, they're just absolutely wrong.
And now tell us what's going to happen.
I hate this. This one's tough. I'm gonna take David Carr, just from the standpoint that, like, I think freestyle gives him a little bit more freedom to be a little bit more cagey and like stick and move type things. But you never count out Keegan ever.
Yeah, this isn't like this is like you have to flip the coin and call heads or tails. I get it.
Yeah, and I haven't seen them wrestle freestyle.
I don't know if they've ever wrestled each other in freestyle.
I don't know either. I'm just gonna take Carr, just from the standpoint of, like, I have to pick one.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
Carr, Marsteller.
I'm gonna take Marsteller.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll ask Mark the same thing, and then we'll go back to bottom half. Marsteller, LaValle, Mark.
Marsteller.
O'Toole, Carr.
O'Toole.
Close.
Yeah, but I think O'Toole's just too good on parterre. I think he's going to be able to turn him, lock something up, get cheap points. I think Carr's better on his feet, but you got to finish on your feet. You don't want to stop at all. And Carr's, at the national tournament, Carr was down underneath of him quite a bit, was able to finish a couple of them, but Keegan's going to tilt you and get back points. I just think Keegan's really good at freestyle. I take Keegan beating Marsteller.
Okay. All right. That was my next question. All right. I'll take Marsteller over LaValle. Just to be different, I'm going to take Carr over O'Toole, and I'm going to take Carr over Marsteller. So everybody's got somebody different making the final. All right. Bottom half, Mark, we can go to you first. Jordan Burroughs over Hunter Garvin or Kennedy Monday, correct?
Yep.
Dieringer over Wick?
Yes.
Burroughs over Dieringer?
Yes.
Okay. GT, anything different there?
I would love to see Dieringer beat Jordan. Just because I think the last time that they wrestled, I think it was in Lincoln, like Dieringer was up on him and then kind of like faltered, and JB kind of did JB things. But I think that Jordan's really gonna come for the title. Like, if Jordan doesn't lose to Dieringer, I think Jordan wins it. I think Dieringer at 79 is one of those same things like James Green type guys where
he's way better there for sure. Yeah.
So I think that that's the toughest matchup for JB in the entire tournament, other than, if he gets a chance to wrestle Marsteller again, just because Marsteller's kind of been a tougher stylistic matchup for him sometimes. But I think Jordan is, once again, could be in the argument for one of the greatest wrestlers we've ever had as a country. So it's hard to vote against him ever.
Yeah, for sure. But it's everybody's run stops at some point. The other thing is we're in Nebraska, right? So, if Burroughs doesn't win, it would be way better to see him, if he chose to retire here versus how it went at Penn State. That was not the prettiest of scenes. So, So you're picking Burrows or Deeringer to come out of the bottom?
I'm gonna pick JB. I'm gonna have basically JB go all the way and win the whole thing, and that's just kind of what I think that he will do.
Yeah, I'm chalk here. I think Burrows over Garvin or Kennedy Monday, Ringer over Wick, Burrows over Ringer in like a one scramble match. Maybe it's shot clocks. I could see that too, him winning just 2-1 on shot clocks. And then I got Burrows beating Carr. Mark, who do you have? You have Burrows and O'Toole?
Yes.
And you have Burrows?
I got Burrows.
And GT's got Burrows. Okay. All right. 92, last weight here. We're doing good on time. Zahid is sitting. Hidley, Aiello, Machiavello, Schultz, Sinclair, PD3, Marcus Coleman, Cam Caffey. We'll have to speed it up a little bit. Grant, Hidley, and Cam Caffey. Who you got?
Hidley.
Schultz, Sinclair.
Take Schultz.
Schultz, Hidley.
Hidley.
Okay. Bottom half for you, GT, Aiello, Marcus Coleman.
You take Aiello.
Mike Mock, PD3.
I'll take the Lizard King.
Aiello and the Lizard King.
Aiello.
Aiello, Hidley.
Hidley.
Hidley, Zahid.
I'll take Zahid.
Okay. Mark. I feel like this is rapid fire. I kind of like it. Hidley, Cam Caffey.
Hidley.
Schultz, Sinclair.
Schultz.
Hidley, Schultz.
Hidley.
Okay. Aiello, Coleman.
Coleman.
Oh. Mike Mock, PD3.
Mock.
Coleman, Mike Mock.
I'm going to take Coleman.
Coleman, Hidley.
Hidley.
Hidley, Zahid.
Zahid.
Okay. I got Zahid winning it over Hidley, and I think it feels super chalky, but I feel like Aiello comes out of the bottom half. I do think Mike Mock and him are really close, though. I think it's a lot closer than some people necessarily think. So,
am I mistaken? Didn't Coleman beat somebody really good in college once, like Aaron Brooks?
that's precisely who he beat.
Okay, I just wanted to check. So for him
You
to
want to
make
check because you really didn't know, or there's a sarcastic
no,
point?
I exactly knew who he beat. So I'm just saying, I think he's got some tools, and he's an Iowa kid, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, nobody's mad about it.
Well, you looked surprised when I said it.
Of course I'm surprised. He's coaching at Davidson. Like, I mean, like, he's the 6 or 7 seed. Like, me being surprised you said it and me thinking it's a crazy pick are two entirely different things.
Okay.
I mean, that's fair, right?
Yep.
If I had told you I made 4 birdies, you would be surprised.
I would say I would be really surprised.
That's why we need a validation.
Well,
So,
David, you made 4 birdie putts. You didn't actually make 4 birdies.
I made 4 birdie putts. Correct.
Correct.
Fair.
But you get the ball from point 8 all the way to the green. Were those all your shots also?
Of course not. But there was one natural birdie.
Okay.
There was one. Mark, I suck at
I'm
golf.
proud of you, David. I think your putting's coming a long ways.
Well, I'm finally standing on the right side of the ball.
There you go.
That's exactly what happened. All right. Anything else before we sign off, boys?
Nope. U20s reminded me of Grandview. That's all I can say. You should be able to close the show on that one. Grandview.
Excellence.
Impressed.
And clones over Hawks. So
Not so impressed.
Funny.
all right. For Grant and Mark, I'm David. The boys and I appreciate you watching and listening. We'll see you all next week.